Hello everybody and welcome to the EFTA channel. The finance ministers of the EFTA countries met with their counterparts on the EU side today for their annual EFTA-ECOFIN meeting, where European and global economic outlooks are discussed. The meeting was chaired by the German Federal Finance Minister, Olaf Scholz, while the Norwegian Finance Minister, Jan Tore Sanner, as chair of the EFTA states, acted as the spokesperson on behalf of the EFTA states. And we are happy to invite them both to the EFTA channel. Thank you for joining. The main topic of the meeting was evidently about the pandemic and the consequences. And you have sort of an outlook paper called How to Rebuild a Resilient, Sustainable and Thriving European Economy. How can you explain, Mr. Sanner, the main suggestions of the EFTA countries in this regard?
Well, first and foremost, we need to fight the pandemic. You know, health policy has become economic policy these days. To succeed, we need swift cooperation, not only in Europe, but also globally. The EU and EFTA countries have developed a very good cooperation over the last 8 months fighting the pandemic. And this cooperation will not be less important going forward. Besides beating the pandemic, the EFTA states believe we need to prepare our economies for well-known challenges. We need to increase employment and prevent long-term unemployment, manage the digital transition, boost innovation and investments, and last but not least, to make our economies greener and mitigate climate risks. We also think that securing open markets and rules-based international trade is very important, both for the near-term recovery and also for growth in the longer term.
Yes, you mentioned some of the challenges ahead, but how would you describe the economic outlooks of the EFTA states, both in terms of the pandemic, but also in general?
Well, a partial economic rebound has been underway in the EFTA countries for some months after a sharp decline we experienced in the first half of this year, and unemployment has now fallen since March, April, and May. But the recent upsurge of COVID-19 has increased uncertainty, and as it looks right now, recovery might be put on hold or even be reversed. To mitigate the economic efforts from the pandemic, the EFTA states have implemented extensive targeted measures with focus measures to households and also to support business. And together with strong automatic stabilizers, the fiscal stimulus is huge and unprecedented. These crisis measures have helped ease difficulties for both households and business, prevented bankruptcies, and mitigated unemployment.
And we, as I said in the beginning, we also have the German Federal Finance Minister, Mr. Olaf Scholz, with us. Welcome.
Hello.
And the same to you, Mr. Scholz. The basic big term of the meeting this morning, how to rebuild a resilient, sustainable and thriving European economy. What's the message from the EU side? And also, if you want to put on your German hat, you're welcome to do.
Thank you. First, I'm very happy that we had this meeting together with our friends from EFTA. It's a very good cooperation and a very good tradition to discuss each year about economic questions. But I have to admit, it was not always a difficult time like the one we have today. Anyone is facing a global pandemic, which is a health catastrophe for all of us, and we have to deal with that. What we learned from our meeting is that in the end, we are going into the right direction, stabilizing our economies, saving the health of our people, and trying to get a path to recovery. And this is what the European Union is doing. As mainly is known to anyone, we decided to help the European economy with a big package of 540 billion in summer, which is opening financial support and credit for medium-sized companies. With the EIB, we opened our short-term work scheme with the SURE program of the European Union, and we opened a credit line at the European Stability Mechanism for the countries that need it. And now we have the recovery package, which has been agreed in the Council, and we are now doing the legislative work with the Parliament. And if you count the two things together, the 540, the 750 billion, it is really a big amount of money to stabilize the European economy and to organize the recovery. This is what we do to help to get out of the crisis.
Yeah, these are kind of emergency measures somewhat, but looking forward, the outlook for Europe, both in terms of the pandemic, but also if you try to look a little further, how do you see the forecast for Europe?
We see that the programs helped, and they are still helping. The recovery is going on, and it's better than we expected some weeks or a month ago. But we now face the new problem of containment measures that have been taken in any member state, and I think it's the same in the EFTA states, as we learned today again. And so this will have an impact on the economic development. But I hope that with the big support given to the involved companies, we will be able to face the situation that the recovery will continue. I think the most important message is that we will have a program which is not just stabilizing the economy, but also thinking about the future, a digitalized economy and a green economy which is facing climate change. And this is, I think, the big task looking at the future.
The EFTA-ECOFIN is an annual meeting, has been taking place for some years. How would you maybe first, Mr. Sanner, what's the importance of such a cooperation, both in general and also now that we have this pandemic ongoing?
Well, we have been cooperating for many years, and we are like-minded. We are intertwined both economically and socially. We share the common European market, and we share many of the same challenging going forward. So cooperate to trade with each other, learn from each other, and listen to each other. It benefits it's all. So I would like to use this opportunity to thank the EU and also the EU governments and also the German leadership for the good cooperation we have had for the last 8 months, for working with the virus and the pandemic, but also the cooperation we need going forward to build our economies greener, more resilient, and more digitalized.
And same question to you, Mr. Scholz. What's the importance of this cooperation?
I think it's a very good cooperation. We have a good tradition for a long time now. It's not a cooperation that happens when we meet as we did today. It's something that is working on a day-by-day basis and any day. So my view is that we should continue with that. And what is our idea behind all of this is multilateralism, that no one will be able to reach something in this world running on its own. It will be just cooperation, which helps us in situations like this, but anyway, in all the other aspects of the future.
Thank you, Mr. Scholz. Maybe one last question to both of you. First to you, Mr. Sanner. If we get out of this pandemic within a year, How do you see the European economy on a global scale? Where do you want to see Europe and the EFTA countries, of course?
Well, first of all, I hope we will have the opportunity to meet in person. It's nice to have digital meetings, but I hope that we'll have the opportunity to meet and discuss the big challenges we have ahead. So if you're looking 1 year from now, I hope we'll have a vaccine, and I hope that the pandemic is losing ground, and we can discuss the other important challenges, to have a boost in employment, discussing education, qualifications, and how we can reduce the climate risks and have a greener economy.
And over to you, Mr. Scholz. Where do you see Europe and the European economy stand 1 year from here?
We will have to fight with the virus up to the next year. I'm absolutely sure. Even if we will have a vaccine, it will take some time during the year to have the chance that anyone that needs the vaccine will get it. So it will take some time. But on the other hand, I'm quite confident about the economic development. As we cooperate and as we answer with a common fiscal strategy, it's highly likely that we will come out of this crisis, and it will be not as severe as the one we had 10 years ago.
Minister Sanner and Minister Scholz, thank you so much for being with us on the EFTA channel.